Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. For today, we have a very, very, very special vendor. It's called Tecsys. No, Tecsys. Tecsys. So we are going to have a lot of fun. Andy already has a ton of jokes that he's going to tell.
Everything's always bigger, Sam. You know that.
I know, and this is really big. I'm telling you, this is the moment. Okay, so we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros, and I can see my video is acting a little bit strange, and I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay, thank you, StreamYard, for doing that. I absolutely appreciate that. All right, so let's start with intros. I am your host, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, Dave, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Crysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders in manufacturing and distribution on streamlining their processes and working towards operational excellence. And I come to you with more than 20 years of various operational leadership roles throughout my career, and excited to be here with you both tonight.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Absolutely, Sam, and thank you so much for having me. And as I mentioned, I can't stay for the whole show today, but I'll participate as much as I can. First off, I wanted to say before I introduce myself is that anybody out there looking for business process reengineering or streamlining their business, Dave Crysler is your man. This gentleman has been doing this as long as, I used to have hair when he first got
Well, thank you for the unsolicited plug, Andy. I appreciate that.
I'm only being sincere. Dave knows what he's doing. He's got tons of experience. And on the flip side, Mr. Gupta, I have never met anyone that knows as much about everything as this gentleman does. And I'll tell you what, I know a lot when it comes to ERP software with manufacturers. I even know what Tecsys is, by the way, Sam. How do you like that?
I like that a lot.
You know what?
And Dave, now we have to plug for him, man.
I guess. Jeez,
That's right. But Sam has a knowledge base that is far wider than mine could ever possibly be. He knows everything about everything, and so
everything about everything.
These are the two gentlemen
he does not know about anything.
Contacting and getting help from, because they're not only experts, they're both sincere, they're both honest, and I trust them both.
Well, thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much.
Very kind.
Excuse me. Now I'm coughing because I couldn't believe what I just said. I don't believe myself, I guess. My name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved with ERP software for manufacturers all my life. Since 1981, I worked all over North America. I lived in the U.S. for 11 years. I've written a book. I help companies also how to evaluate and how to uncover the truth about ERP systems. And I have a book on Amazon. But even more important, I have a webinar coming out on August 9th. If you check my LinkedIn profile, there will be a link if you feel like registering. But basically, I teach people how to uncover the truth before you buy so that you will make less mistakes. Thank you, Sam.
All right, amazing. And if you guys want truth, go to Andy. He's your guy.
Andy's your guy.
Andy's your guy. All right, guys. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, we'll make sure that you receive your answers. On that note, Andy, Dave, I'm going to start with the quick briefing. I know we are probably going to feel as if we are taking a little bit of break here, because so far, I guess, Andy, you missed a couple of them. But so far, when we were reviewing these guys, we were sort of confused. Are we really reviewing systems, or have we started reviewing Fortune 500 companies? Because they
Right.
felt like that. They did not feel like as if they were technology companies, to be honest. Okay, they were more of the consulting companies. So today is going to be a nice break, because this is this is not necessarily a technology company who's also trying to sell a product. Here, this is a real technology company, just like any other WMS systems or TMS systems are there in the market. They might have a little bit of consulting, but obviously that is just to augment their
It does project management too, doesn't it? Or am I wrong, Sam?
Tecsys.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I'm wrong. Okay, never mind.
so everything is project management, so I want to make sure that
Sure. No, that's right. You're right. But I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is actually WMS, solution. I'll give you a little brief, okay? In about them, who they are. So this is a very interesting positioning, as well as Mixel too, overall from the solution perspective. And two things that are going to be unique about this one is, number one, they are targeting healthcare, which is very unique in general. Healthcare supply chain is big. There are some companies that target healthcare supply chain that's very, 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 very unique in general, okay, compared to your regular supply chain, which is going to be your manufacturing distribution. Andy, obviously, Infor is in this space as well. They do really well in the healthcare supply chain space. But the unique part about this particular solution is they also target very retail, centric vertical. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? I cannot figure out. One time you are going healthcare, which means your hospitals, etc., and then you are into retail space. So it could be slightly confusing for people. And then obviously they are present in 3PL space as well. So that's another play that they have, which is understandable because they are WMS, GMS. Most of them probably target some sort of 3PL mix. Overall, if we look at our layers, so I guess one of the layers that we have developed recently based on our 2 or 3 reviews that we have done in the past 2 weeks, I would say. So one of them is whether you are really that, consulting shop. In their case, they are not necessarily that consulting shop. So that's one layer. The other one is going to be overall mix of the systems where they are really trying to play. And sometimes that could be the mix of your WMS, TMS, OMS, some have POS, some had, freight sort of spend management capabilities. So we have seen it all, right? Given so many different players. So these guys are very, very, very strong from the WMS side of things, okay? Which is going to be healthcare, because for healthcare, it's a very different WMS play. And these guys are fairly unique as well, the way these guys like to approach the WMS market. And they have terms such as point of use. And point of use is going to be a very interesting term as well. It just kind of could be confusing for some people. They might feel that it's probably POS, but no, it's not POS. So this is going to be, they are integrating with a lot of different hardware that we are going to see in some of the screenshots, and the way they are sort of trying to provide these visual signals using RFID, where, when you are going to receive the inventory, and then up to the consumption. And typically most of the ERP systems, they don't really get into the actual consumption, but here in their case, they are being used in the hospital. So they are going to be slightly more, they need to be careful with the inventory. They cannot really mix things, which a lot of other WMS systems might be able to do that. TMS we are going to review. I think TMS is going to be slightly on a lighter side. I think they are primarily WMS, but then they also have the OMS and omni-channel capabilities, and that's where that DTC, e-commerce, retail play is coming in. They are really strong there as well. Which other layers do we cover? I mean, internal versus external supply chain. These guys are probably not going to be external. They are really, that internal supply chain is where their sweet spot is going to be in general. Technology, we'll find out. Not too sure whether they are really cloud native or not. So that's another layer that we have. What else do we cover as part of the briefing, guys? That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, I think you covered it, Sam.
Okay, perfect. So if you guys don't have any other comments, I'll get into our slides. So here, obviously, everybody is going to say they are cloud-based. By the way, this is a public company as well, so I think we have a lot more data in general. I believe so. Yeah, they are a public company. So here they are saying they are the provider of cloud-based supply chain solutions that equip the borderless enterprise for growth and competitive advantage. Obviously, blah blah blah. Multiple complex, regulated, and high-volume distribution industries. I don't have. Okay, so the things that I really wanted to cover here is their positioning, which is your warehouse management, distribution, transportation management, supply chain management at point of use, and they are very, very, very specific and deliberate about that term. Then they have the order management, fulfillment. Okay, so you guys need to pay attention to financial management. Obviously these guys are trying to position themselves as ERP as well. I think they have positioned themselves as more of the distribution ERP. Now, for the most part, what that means is, you have got all of your OMS, WMS, a little bit of TMS, and then I'm going to give you an accounting software. That's ERP for them, but typically that's not ERP. For retail industry, that might be okay because they typically don't have as deep integrated processes, as some of the other industries in general. So you are going to see that they are probably positioning themselves as ERP, and I don't know whether they are positioning themselves as ERP for either 3PL or for retail or for everything else. But I think they have distribution ERP is what they are trying to position as. So here's some of the other things that you are going to notice. I think this we have been discussing, Dave, in a lot of different sessions lately, right? Overall revenue and the adjusted EBITDA is going to be slightly dramatic, even for these guys. Again, because the way they are sort of recognizing the revenue, I don't know if these guys are also going to have some brokerage revenue, but it's not consistent with what we have seen in the market overall in terms of the numbers, right? Then we have some more commentary here. E-commerce fulfillment sector with mounting pressure for distribution organizations to fulfill high order volumes under changing customer demands. I don't have anything there. Order management. Here we have some of the industries that they are talking about. So they have the healthcare, automotive, which is going to be very retail centric, automotive distribution verticals, service parts. That is also very distribution centric in general, the way their business model is. It can be trickier, I would say, to use depending upon what their business model is. If they are going to be in that aftermarket space where they have to look into all of these bombs. I don't know how much they can do that, but for the most part, I think they might be used only for that OMS capability or for the e-commerce as well as WMS. That would be my understanding. Third-party logistics. Then they are saying converging commerce, industrial and general wholesale, high volume distribution market. High volume is the term that you probably want to pick from here because for the most part, the OMS, WMS that is really used in that FMCG centric verticals, it is going to be anything high volume, whether it is going to be in the automotive space or FMCG space. For the most part, it has to be high volume. That's where you have the play for separate sort of best of breed WMS OMS combination. The other layer that we have been discovering so far, Dave, is the international versus national presence. Some of the solutions that we had, they were penetrated outside of North America as well. So these guys are going to be primarily in Canada, US, and Europe. They have roughly 1,000 customers right now. Some more commentary here. I guess this is coming from their website, if I remember correctly. So this one is a master's category of Gartner's healthcare supply chain top 25 for 2021. So obviously for healthcare supply chain, you don't have a lot of options out there. So obviously they must be positioned very high. Top 5 distributed order management systems. Distributed order management system is the term that we have seen in a lot of different OMS systems that we have reviewed. Dave, I don't know whether you were part of sort of the some of the headless commerce solutions that we had reviewed. I don't know if we reviewed as part of the commerce series or this series. Comment, Dave?
No, I was just going to say, I think those were in the e-commerce series, Sam, and I didn't participate in too many of those.
Yeah, so I kind of knew it in back of my head that they are going to converge one of these days, right? So I think this is it's very, very, very hard to sort of draw the boundary between what is e-commerce, what is ERP. It's all over the place, I guess, right? So distributed order management is primarily used with the e-commerce systems in general, the way they like to think. So it's going to be used with those OMS systems. OMS is still very e-commerce centric term. It's not necessarily used in the ERP WMS setting, but WMS could be all over the place as well in my mind. So these guys are definitely ranking in that distributed order management, which is your OMS. Then they have the Gartner Market Guide for Retail Store Inventory Management Applications. Inventory management applications could mean a lot of different things. I don't know where you draw the line, but I guess here they are really talking about that OMS. WMS, are you going to call that inventory? I'm not too sure. So that's very interesting as well. It gets very hard to classify these things. So let's move to the next one. So here they are saying when it comes to supply chain technology investments, no, I don't have any comments there. Okay, so they are talking about healthcare organizations. They don't have a lot of visibility. Healthcare, you definitely have that problem, especially. And by the way, healthcare, when they say they mean hospitals for the most part. They are installed in a lot of different hospitals. So hospital is going to be very different from any other healthcare settings, which could be your pharma, med device, any of the labs. Those are going to be very different business models. So here, when they say healthcare, they are really talking about hospitals. Now they have some more comments here. On March 28, 2022, Tecsys introduced Omni WMS and Agile SaaS native warehouse management system designed to serve the omni-channel market between hybrid e-commerce and traditional fulfillment to its North American market. So this is the new product that they have announced, and they are calling it as Omni WMS. Yeah. I don't know how to read this. I don't know, Dave, if you're going to have any sort of comments there. But I mean, omni-channel concept for the most part we have seen used. I would say that's slightly more OMS term as opposed to WMS term. I don't know what's Omni WMS, but sure, WMS, OMS. I don't know if you really have some sort of boundary there in between.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's what makes some of these, so challenging, because it's a play on words often. And until you can really dig in and uncover what the true functionality is, this is all marketing.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the easy part always, right? You can write whatever you want.
Well, and I think it gets back to something that, that we kind of all talked about, but Andy really highlights on, and it's, it's kind of, it's back to the thought process of checking boxes versus, really understanding what your process flow is and what your business model is, and how any of these solutions will ultimately, fit the bill to help you, execute today and grow into something, for the future. So I think this is a great example of that, because when you read that, it's like, what does that mean? I don't get, it's like that doesn't mean anything,
Could not agree more. I think great comments there. So let's keep going here. So some more commentary. So here they are saying inclusive of direct to consumer brands, complex retail, e-commerce fulfillment organizations. So they are really trying to highlight that, e-commerce, healthcare, automotive. I think, we are going to be getting a lot of that messaging. They are really trying to target that. Now, this is my favorite part. Okay, so now you are going to be wondering, okay, what the hell Tecsys is doing with Workday? And I don't know, Dave, whether you remember the Workday session that we did. It's been a while, I guess, for Workday now, right? So Workday, and I'll give you a refresher if you need. So Workday was more of the HCM technology. They started at that. I mean, they are really sort of the sales forces of the HCM world. So any of the accounts where you are going to go where you have the white collar workers, that is going to be your banking, financial sector, healthcare, for the most part, retail, a lot of that. I think we saw that in the case of Workday. They had a lot of case studies. So obviously healthcare is a big deal for them. For the most part, Workday and Salesforce, they go hand in hand. Whatever industries Salesforce is targeting, Workday is targeting that as well. So for Workday, they don't necessarily target ERP industries in general, uh, you know, because obviously ERP could have much deeper functionality in general, and their product is positioned more for the service vertical. So now, what is Tecsys doing here? So obviously, Workday is very well penetrated into healthcare market. If you look at the companies that are really targeting healthcare, Workday is definitely one of them. Primarily for the HCM functionality. So now Tecsys is sort of hanging out with them. Number one for healthcare, number two for retail, because most of the ERP companies, they are going to be integrating with Workday, but not for healthcare, I guess. The only company that I know from the ERP perspective that is going to be in the healthcare space is probably going to be Infor. I don't know if anybody else is there. I mean, they are only going to be there for finance. That's it. Other than that, they don't have a real ERP play. So that's where I guess Workday is trying to penetrate the healthcare, or they already are present there. And that's where Tecsys is going to be really handy, because they can handle the supply chain function, for the most part. So here we have some commentary. So Tecsys, a Canadian, industry leading supply chain management and omni-channel commerce software company, and a Workday Select software partner. So they are partner, obviously. And then they are saying Workday supply chain management SCM for healthcare, elite healthcare warehouse management system. So I don't have anything else other than they are simply partner, and they are sort of going for deals together. And here they are saying receiving this elite healthcare receiving allows for coordinated distribution to easily manage items in all locations throughout the hospital using a single point of entry. The platform integrated product eliminates the use of multiple tools, systems, and processes, and provides you with complete chain of custody tracking. I don't know how you are going to read that. What is custody tracking? Maybe inventory.
Well, I think in this scenario, and again, depending on specifically what parts of the supply chain they're tracking, right? But where that generally is related to in the healthcare space would be for specimens and things like that, testing specimens, those types of things where there has to be a full chain of custody visibility to ensure that their sample integrity, as drug tests, blood tests, those types of things. I don't initially get that from what we've learned so far, so it'd be interesting to see that, or if they more so mean they're kind of again, back to the kind of marketing speak, what they really mean is the ability to understand where, supplies and those types of things are kind of distributed throughout a hospital system. That to me would make more sense with what we're talking about. But in the sense of chain of custody, that's typically in this space, the types of things that they're talking about is generally around testing and specimen tracking, anything that has to be followed from kind of, initiation, cradle to grave, so to speak.
And I don't know, we might want to pay attention to how the next line reads, to be completely honest. And for the most part, the way their product is positioned, they are doing a lot more in hospital. I don't know how much they are doing outside, to be completely honest. So here, as you can see, they are saying receiving allows the coordinated distribution to easily manage items in all locations throughout the hospital. So they are really saying throughout the hospital, not hospitals, right? So that would be my take that, okay, it's really inside the hospital. And then they also have here warehouse and distribution management in hospital inventory management.
I suppose after kind of rereading that, Sam, I suppose what they could be referring to specific to the chain of custody part could be medication versus, traditional supplies, because there wouldn't be need for, in my opinion, there wouldn't be a need for chain of custody tracking for general supplies, but there certainly would be for medications. So
Exactly. And once you actually see the screenshot, especially about their point of use capabilities, that's very unique, to be completely honest. Okay, it's inside the hospital that they are able to do. So I don't know what they are going to do outside. I don't know if they are going to have equal capabilities outside. Maybe they probably get installed with somebody else. So this is really going to be for in hospital, but then they might be using something else, maybe for the external supply chain. The one that you were mentioning. And depending upon how big the hospital is, and I don't know, I mean, see, they have really big logos, to be completely honest, based on their site. So here, some more commentary, and in this particular space, you are going to get another system which is going to be EHR, and that is going to be the one that doctors typically interface with. So you are going to have EHR, you are going to have ERP, and I don't think we have reviewed any of the EHR systems so far. That's probably going to be next on our list. So EHR, ERP, and then obviously the supply chain sort of sits in between for the point of use inventory. So here they are talking about, and this one might give you some more hints there, Dave, overall from the commentary perspective. So they are talking about, when they have given the examples, for example, implants, okay, pharmaceuticals. So these are the things that they are really trying to manage, overall critical items that need to be managed inside hospital. And if you go to a retail floor or warehouse floor, they probably don't need as much trace and track capabilities for the inventory, because nobody cares, where you are really using. Sometimes allocation functionality might be critical, but it's not as critical as this, where you need to worry about the expiration date. You really need to worry about the specific implant, which goes, I don't know where.
That's we need Andy to maybe dissect that that topic, Sam.
Okay, so here, only when clinicians enter, items into the system, which is a significant challenge when documentation is manual. Okay, so they have a little bit of visual warehouse capabilities as well, which is very interesting. And I think visual warehouse capabilities, if I recall correctly, I think we saw that in the case of Infor. And Infor is installed, even the WMS is installed in the healthcare setting. So obviously, a visual warehouse is probably going to be really, really handy there. And they have spoken about that, okay, when you talk about these warehouse workers, they don't like to remember the bid number, the aisle number, and for them, visual warehouse, especially in the high volume situation, is going to be really handy. Okay, so here is the distribution ERP. Now, distribution ERP could be very interesting. Okay, so they are talking about, a lead distribution ERP. You can equip your front office workers with automation to seamlessly execute order to cash and procure to pay, while significantly highlighting service levels to your customers. Now, honestly speaking, I was looking into their demos, if they might have anything publicly or any sort of data sheets publicly. They didn't have. Okay, so we don't know, what kind of capabilities that they have from the ERP perspective. But the way this marketing message reads, and my perception is going to be that if you have order to cash, and this is how most of the OMS players like to sort of position. Okay, so even if they have financial capabilities, the financial capabilities are not going to be as embedded as they would be with ERP. So even though they are calling ERP, so my take on this is going to be, okay, you have your WMS, OMS, whatever, and then plus your finance. That's how they are positioning this as ERP. This is not a real ERP, but they are also calling it ERP, which is very interesting. Now the transportation management system, and I don't think they are really deep into transportation management, especially when you are going to compare with other transportation management systems, Manhattans of the world, etc. These guys are probably going to be more on a lighter side, which is going to be slightly more parcel play. So I don't know whether they acquire TMS capability over the period of time, but for the most part, this is going to be very parcel centric play. And even if we compare this with which is the one that we did last time, I guess. That was your TMC Navisphere, I guess, CH Robinson, right?
Oh, yeah, CH Robinson.
They also had, I guess, Freight Code, Freight View, is my understanding that that's what their SMB solution, right? This is going to be very similar. It's really designed for that SMB e-commerce centric market. It's not designed for that enterprise market. So here they are saying, okay, Elite TMS is an enterprise class multi-carrier shipping manifest system that optimizes carrier selection and shipping for outbound small parcels and less than truckload. Again, this is going to be probably PSets of the world, maybe slightly bigger, but for the most part, this is very, 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 very small TMS. A lot of companies don't even call them TMS. They'll call shipping software, but these guys are calling themselves as TMS for some reason. Okay, so then we have some case studies here, and I don't know if okay, maybe we wanna hit on the delivery management as well, which is very interesting. So they will be able to do your last mile delivery. They will be able to do your proof of delivery. That's where your delivery management is going to be, I guess. So this is slightly handy, I would say. The companies that are going to be in that fleet space where they need to maintain their in-house carrier and the internal deliveries, I guess, most of the hospitals have that. So that's why they need to have this. So I guess, Dave, this is where you're slightly external, I would say, not real external, slightly external. Okay. So most of the hospitals are probably going to have their own ambulance where they need to carry the inventory, they need to ship at multiple locations. Sometimes they might have outpatient surgery center and they are probably transferring some of the medicines and inventory. So with hospitals, you are definitely going to have some, carriers that they are maintaining in-house internally. So here, delivery management is a powerful end-to-end event tracking and delivery management mobile system for distribution organization, in-house courier, and internal deliveries, including all unattended or unscheduled pickups and delivery. So which is very, very, very interesting, the kind of terms that they have used. They are calling them unattended and unscheduled pickups and deliveries. Very interesting. And your guess would be that they would be scheduled, right?
You would certainly think so,
right?
But perhaps there's another use case to be made.
Exactly. So this is mind-blowing. I don't know. Maybe in hospitals they have some scenarios where they need to do unattended and unscheduled. So we are always discovering these features that, okay, they could be very unique. And that's why, they probably need to buy this, because I don't know how you are going to manage this if you are not going to have this capability, I guess. So here, there's a case study of a business. So now we are going to read between the lines in terms of what they are trying to do. So in this particular case, this is probably coming from a business where they are saying they used to have a solution called Fax. And by the way, Fax is a very, very, very legacy distribution system. Now, I believe it is within 4 right now. It's probably very mainframe based. So they used to use that, and then for the most part, wherever you are going to have Fax, they are going to be very industrial distribution centric, verticals in general. Okay, and I don't know. Let me see if I don't know if you can find here which industry this is, but this is probably industrial distribution as well. We were introduced to Tecsys solution through the industry and liked the experience level of senior management. Okay. And we don't really have much of the commentary here to be able to comment on this, right? Yeah, other than, I mean, just the fax system, where they are replacing is obviously going to dictate where they are probably going to be fit as well. Now, we have some more commentary here. So here, this is again coming from a case study, I guess. So this is their drivers in terms of, and they have really deep case studies, which is commendable. Not every WMS ERP vendors are willing to put effort, I guess, in case studies. Because they might feel nobody reads it, I guess. But these guys have done a really good job, of capturing a lot of details in case studies. So here they are talking about, okay, why they were selected, which is a fair game. At least they are able to tell that, right? So here, a formal WMS selection process based on these criteria and important features such as, storage based on temperature and weight. Okay. Now, temperature controlled storage, scheduling, carrier management, very different ball game. Okay, so that's very, very, very unique. I believe, Dave, and I don't know, Uber Freight was in the chemical space, so they are going to have some of these capabilities, because in the chemical space, chemicals industry, you are going to probably require this feature as well.
Yeah, I don't recall them specifically calling any of that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, super interesting. I mean, definitely complexity that you don't typically find. Maybe in some, I don't know. I don't recall anything like that in any of the other process manufacturing solutions that we've reviewed either. Those seem pretty new to me.
Yeah, but I mean, you are getting close. I mean, this is definitely going to be in the food and beverage, process manufacturing, chemicals, pharma.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to find these features. So temperature, weight, and by the way, C.H. Robinson, they were also very deep into that food sourcing, food distribution market, produce distribution market. They were really big into that. So they would have these capabilities as well. So here they are talking about dynamic, picking based on first expired, first out FEFO. It's a very unique capability. And if I remember correctly, Blue Link ERP, I guess, had this because they are in the pharma space as well. And then lot control serialization, obviously that's very common. But for the most part, temperature, weight, and first expired, first out, for the most part, we are going to see with every single food and beverage solution, which is going to be your DCOM, Apteens of the world. They all are targeted in that food distribution space. Now, here we have product classification and critical safety handling rules for hazmat, and hazmat is a very interesting capability as well. I do recall, Dave, I guess, hazmat was spelled in the case of Uber Freight. They had very specific, fields that they could handle, with Uber Freight, just because Uber Freight, again, they are very, very, very strong in the chemicals market. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. So here, okay, so now this is a very interesting one. I think this is the first time that we found anywhere, I guess, who has really spelled this out. Okay, so we are talking about footage marking, and this is going to be in the wire industry, which is very, very, very interesting. Okay, so these guys are the only ones who have really called this out. This has always been a problem for the wire industry, and I remember, when if you install, let's say, SAP in those spaces, even SAP used to struggle, because this is very unique in general. So here they are saying, so certain wires have at least 2 feet labeled with a footage marking. For example, if 100 foot is needed, and if the reel started at it's almost like cutting the tape, right? So you need to have the marking, and oh my goodness, this gets really complicated, to be completely honest. Okay, so they have functionality for that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because we dealt with some of that in the in the print space as well. You think about giant logs of raw material and accounting for linear foot consumption, and it wasn't always the consumption; it was also the return back. It was scrapping, all of those things that would affect your inventory value. And I would imagine wire is even more challenging because of the tensile strength. So I would imagine there's there's some stretch and variance associated with that as well on top of it. So that's really interesting functionality to have baked into this.
If my recollection is right and the understanding of this market, I think the markings matter, where you are going to have markings. Those markings, sometimes you can request, okay, I want from this point to this point. Now, how do you track that?
Yeah.
You would probably think that, I'm going to sell by feet. Okay, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to sell it. But now you are creating sort of product inside product.
Yeah. Interesting.
So these guys have this, and they, again, these solutions are going to have some very unique features, and where some of the standard solutions are probably going to struggle. And that's why, this is probably coming from the case study that they bought it because of this, and they struggled with this one is, and electrical supply in general is a very, very, very unique space. We have seen Apicore Eclipse doing really, really well there, because again, they have a lot of things there. It's not just the footage marking. I think this is going to be electrical codes. And Dave, I know you are smiling.
But, it's just interesting to me because with so many of these solutions that we've reviewed, every kind of now and again, you come across something very unique. And what's interesting to me is, when we peel back all of these different layers, why companies like this wouldn't really double down and be so deep into that space that it is just so apparent that this is their market. And it's just interesting to me where, I'm not picking on this solution per se, because we've seen it multiple times, but, we want to be more things to more people. And we continue to find these, these unique solutions to these types of problems where going really deep on something like this, you would be a market leader because everybody would need this type of capability. So it's just interesting to me from a sales and marketing and positioning standpoint.
Yeah, and most people miss these things, to be completely honest. If you're trying to develop this on top of your vanilla ERP, it could really fire back.
It doesn't fit on the checklist, so to speak. And then, this is how, that's an interesting point too, because I feel like, and I know you've seen this too many times to count, but I think that's the exact situation that companies often find themselves when they don't think of these types of situations and processes until they're knee deep in implementation. And then the question comes out, well, how are we going to handle this? And it's like, well, what do you mean? We didn't talk about it. How did this just now come up? It's like, we did have a conversation around, so it's, but that's to your point, that's how we can get ourselves into a bit of a pickle, and how, costs can certainly skyrocket during an implementation, delays and costs. So.
Exactly. Great points. All right. So moving right along. So here we have one more, case study. I think this is coming from the health pharmacy, and they are talking about Parkview Health Pharmacy ERP system. And they are saying approximately 60% of its overall pharmaceutical inventory was managed by a perpetual inventory system. Okay, and they were really uploading the orders. So obviously these guys enabled sort of the e-commerce, play there. So they are saying 40% of the drugs outside of the ERP were reliant on pharmacy staff. Okay, so now this is a very interesting point as well. Okay, so here, I guess one of the things that this is more of the process issue in my mind. So here, especially in the pharmacy space, in the hospital space, sometimes what is going to happen is, okay, you are going to have ERP, but ERP is not going to know everything from the inventory perspective, because you are cutting PO directly from your location. They are buying, they are selling, and when everything is done, you sort of tell a story to ERP. Hey, we did something here. You don't need to know everything. Okay, I'll just give you balance. Okay, then count whatever you have to. So I guess this is a real process problem. Okay, so generally, when you are looking at the inventory and the supply chain management, you want to keep your inventory as centralized as possible, because that helps from the allocation perspective, that helps with the inventory planning perspective. So here, these guys had 40% of the inventory because, again, we looked at in their comments that they were talking about ERP system, where they are saying order to cash, procure to pay. That's what is ERP. Okay, everything else is not ERP, right? But then you are going to have a real ERP in the background that is going to do the actual heavy lifting from the inventory perspective, as well as accounting and the costing, all of that, right? So I think the way these guys like to think is, okay, you are doing procure to pay, and when you are going to isolate that layer on top, what is going to happen is you are creating a process problem. And what these guys did is they tried to fix a process problem. They were thinking that things were not working, and it's working because of this solution, because now it's part of that OMS layer. But technically what you are doing is you hosted all of your inventory inside your OMS layer. So here, it's not just that the solution that worked for you. I think this was a process problem. They tried to solve it differently. So here they are saying 40% of the drugs outside of the ERP were reliant on pharmacy staff members manually creating and sending POs to suppliers. Okay, so that you should not be doing. Okay, you should be utilizing a centralized hub. I don't care what that is. Okay, whether it is going to be OMS or it is going to be ERP, but keep all of your inventory at one place. That should be your goal. So here, obviously, they didn't have that. Then they try to centralize that. Members manually creating and sending POs to the suppliers, counting items on shelves. So they are obviously doing it inside the store locations, and that's where the problem is, because the inventory was sort of split between those two. So both items within and outside of its ERP system, the Park View Health Pharmacy team did not have the capability to perform a three-way match. You cannot perform a three-way match because your inventory is all over the place. So between PO acknowledgement and the invoice, so even after doing whatever you did with these guys, I don't think you are performing the right match, because your payment is still sitting in your accounting system. Right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too, because these aren't small companies. So the next thought is, well, how do they kind of pass muster with any sort of outside audit, to account for that? So yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
To be completely honest, the audit companies, they don't really have visibility into operations. They don't care for operations as long as your accounting is lining up. GLs, that's it. They just don't have that understanding. So I'm not shocked here. I mean, they really look at the GL level, whatever story you are telling at the GL level. You can tell whatever story you like.
Yeah.
Nobody stops you.
I suppose there's always a story to sell.
Right, Dave? Exactly. So here they are talking about drug products, based on class of trade, and obviously you are going to have supply chain issues. You are going to have allocation issues. You are going to have matching issues, whether you are going to admit or not. You are definitely going to have issues. Okay, so here they are saying whether items outside or inside of the ERP ever arrived at their doors. They used a work queue to document when received. Products were put away, and they did that because obviously they had manual inventory system. Even though they had a system, they had to create a manual system. But if they did not document receipt of all items prior to when the next day's orders went out, they ran the risk that they would reorder items in the belief that they never arrived. Can you believe this is happening inside the hospital? This led to over ordering, excess inventory, waste, and returns, and they are not going to take any risks. So obviously they are going to over order, but it's pure waste. Now we have some more commentary here. So here they are talking about a specialty item management, leading edge RFID and barcode technology that we are going to review, high cost supplies and consignment items from their receipt to their utilization during a procedure. This is your in-hospital inventory. And again, very, 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 very specific functionality. Okay, so here they are saying replenishment of products requiring item level traceability by facilitating data capture and providing real-time tracking of product movement, workflow and IT environment to ensure compliance. And again, that's all good. I don't have anything there. General supplies management. So here they are talking about to optimize batch-based replenishment processes. 2-bin Kanban solution incorporates cutting-edge automation technology designed to facilitate just-in-time inventory management, inventory levels, and turnover while keeping to prevent expired products from being used in treatment. Um, you know, these are great features. I think these are going to be there with the other systems as well. But again, I think when you look at this in the healthcare setting, that could be very different the way they have done it. And that's what we are going to see in these screenshots. Some more commentary here. This is again coming from your Rinchem. I think we had one of these screenshots for this particular company before as well. So here they are saying 50-50 model. I think that is Rinchem, right? Rinchem. To grow the company organically by extending its reach, its customer verticals. No. I don't have much there. So I think the point I wanted to touch on here is the NVOC. And NVOC, we saw in the case of CH Robinson as well, that they were there. So most of the companies, the consulting companies, they all are trying to get the license. They all are trying to become ocean air carriers, so they have a little control there. So obviously when they have to do this, they are going to require a lot more technology in general. So these guys are trying to do that as well. And that's why they felt that this particular solution is going to give them capabilities, to be that. Okay, so now this is the in-treatment inventory system, and this is the point of use that I was talking about, Dave. So now I think this might give you some perspective that, okay, this is a simple UI, and they are using this whole RFID, in my mind, this is the Kanban inventory that they were talking about. So they have a little bit of lighting, and they are sort of trying to detect, okay, what is, in stock and what you need to order. So it's more of the visual inventory system inside the hospital. At least based on these lightings, I can trust this hospital, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Looks fancy.
Yeah. Too many directions to take that.
Right. They must know what they are doing when they have so many lightings here.
Oh yeah, they must. Instead of putting that X on your leg, they shine a green beam on it.
Right. Exactly. All right, so some more commentary here. So they used to be IBM partner. I don't know if they are still IBM partner. I think that must be more of the hardware relationship. Obviously, they are very involved in the hardware space. They are selling a lot of hardware, but for the most part, when you look at their capabilities, it's very, very, very WMS centric. The way they have done it. They also have 3PL billing because they are present in that space for 3PL. They are probably going to have the ERP capabilities as well, because again, 3PL is a very different business in general, even if it is going to be distribution 3PL. Okay, even if you don't have your carrier, or even if you are going to be just the warehouse business. Okay, if it is going to be 3PL where you are carrying somebody else's inventory, you are a very, very, very different business, and you probably are going to require very different capabilities. So that's where these guys are probably going to shine. And in the e-commerce space, you have a lot of 3PL business. The only thing they do is warehouse, not more than that. Okay, so obviously this is obviously their interface, which is fairly simple overall from the look and feel perspective. So again, they are not necessarily that enterprise player. They are going to be primarily in that SMB e-commerce space. That's what they are trying to attack, especially in the healthcare space, as well as automotive and retail distribution 3PL. So we have some reviews here. I don't know if this is the healthcare and biotech, 1 billion to roughly 3 billion USD, 2022, which is fairly recent. They are talking about tracking of packages, maintenance of all the stock records and count of product, the ability to integrate a high number of warehouses together. Okay, so that's their real value prop. That's why they bought this one. And again, these guys probably were, in a lot of healthcare businesses are probably going to be very 3PL like as well. They're going to have a lot of warehouses. So that was the plus point. Insights given on the stock and products at multiple levels. They did not like UI UX, so I don't know how good their technology is. So obviously that is coming from review, and this is in 2022. So if they are saying UI UX is not as great, that means there must be problems. Okay, 2020. wave planning. I mean, they are really deep into that, which is good. You need that when you are going to have very complex warehouse operations. That's pretty much it. All right, Dave, comments.
Yeah, I mean, another interesting solution for sure. A lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of deep, deep and in some cases new functionality that we've not seen. So, always interesting to see how these solutions are positioning themselves. Again, I think in terms of, general guidance, understanding where you're at as a company, and the things you do well, and looking for other companies that are similar to you when you are looking to evaluate systems like this, and be thinking about the hidden things that you generally don't think of until last. Those are always good to get on the list. So.
Yeah, it's very hard unless you dig into these sessions, where you are going to find just, when we have reviewed like 500 sessions, then we found, okay, there's something called footage marking. Okay, what is that now?
Yeah.
It gets really interesting in the ERP space. I mean, you are always learning something new, which is what I like about this space.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of, to Andy's point early on, right? There's no shortage of things to learn. And, just when you think you may have narrowed in on a
Right?
potential solution, keep asking questions.
Exactly. Amazing insights, Dave. Do you have any more comments?
No, I don't think so, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. And that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight.
Thanks, Sam.
Of course.